Title: The Money Frequency. No one talks about. Let's talk about something that most people have heard about, but almost no one fully understands. The idea of a money frequency. You've probably come across it before, maybe in a video, maybe in a book. Maybe someone mentioned that you need to raise your vibration to attract more money, and for a moment it sounds interesting, but also vague. Because what does that actually mean? What is a money frequency in practical terms? And more importantly, why do some people seem to naturally operate in a state where money flows more easily, while others feel like they're constantly pushing against resistance? Here's where we need to clear something up. When people hear the word frequency, they often imagine something mystical, something abstract, something you can't really measure or understand. But in reality, what's being described is much more grounded than it seems. Your financial frequency is not about attracting money through thoughts alone. It's about the patterns you consistently operate within, your reactions, your decisions, your emotional responses to money. All of these create a kind of internal environment, and that environment influences what you do, how you do it, and what results you allow yourself to sustain. Think about it this way. Every person has a certain range of financial experience that feels normal. Within that range, things feel predictable. You know how to behave. You know what decisions to make. You know what to expect. But when you start moving outside of that range, something changes. You might feel uncertainty, pressure, even subtle discomfort. Not because something is wrong, but because it's unfamiliar. And your system is designed to bring you back to what feels known. This is what people are actually referring to when they talk about frequency. It's not a magical signal you send out to the universe. It's the level of financial reality you are internally calibrated to handle. And that calibration affects everything. It affects how you respond to opportunities, how you deal with risk, how you manage money once you have it. It even affects what you notice and what you ignore. For example, two people can be presented with the exact same opportunity. One sees potential, acts quickly, adjusts as they go. The other hesitates, overthinks, focuses on what could go wrong, and eventually does nothing. From the outside, it looks like one person is more decisive, more confident, but underneath, they're simply operating at a different level of internal alignment with that opportunity. One sees it as normal, the other sees it as a disruption. Now here's where it becomes more subtle. Your financial patterns are not just based on logic. They're deeply connected to emotional conditioning. From an early age, you absorb messages about money, not just through words, but through experiences. You observe stress around bills. You hear conversations about scarcity. You see how people react to financial pressure. And without realizing it, you begin forming associations. Money becomes linked to tension, responsibility, uncertainty, or in some cases, status, comparison, or even guilt. These associations don't disappear just because you grow older. They become part of your internal framework. So when you start pursuing more money, you're not just chasing a goal. You're stepping into a set of meanings your mind has already assigned to that goal. And if those meanings include stress or instability, then moving toward more money doesn't feel entirely positive. It feels mixed. Part of you wants it, part of you resists it. And that internal conflict affects your behavior in ways that are easy to miss. You might hesitate when it's time to act, delay decisions that could move you forward, second-guess opportunities that actually make sense, or even create situations where money comes in but doesn't stay. Unexpected expenses, poor timing, choices that seem reasonable in the moment but create setbacks later. And because each situation looks different on the surface, it's easy to treat them as isolated events. But when you step back, a pattern starts to appear. And that pattern reflects your current frequency, not in a mystical sense, but in a behavioral one. It's the repeated way you interact with money. Now here's something most people overlook. Your nervous system plays a central role in this process, because money is not just numbers. It represents responsibility, security, freedom, pressure, and your body responds to those meanings. If your system associates higher levels of money with increased stress, then earning more doesn't feel like relief. It feels like exposure, more to manage, more to lose, more to handle. And when that happens, your system tries to regulate itself. It looks for ways to return to a state that feels manageable, even if that state includes financial limitation. This is why some people experience cycles. They move forward financially. Then something happens that brings them back. Not necessarily through one big mistake, but through a series of small, subtle behaviors. Delays, avoidance, inconsistent decisions, all driven by an underlying need to stay within a familiar range. This is what keeps the frequency stable. Not consciously, but automatically. And this is also why purely external strategies often fall short. You can learn new skills, improve your income streams, make better plans. But if your internal calibration doesn't shift, those improvements won't fully stabilize. You'll experience progress, but not consistency. Growth, but not retention. Because your system keeps pulling you back to what feels normal. So the real question becomes, how do you change that? Not by forcing yourself, not by trying to override your reactions, but by becoming aware of them. Because awareness changes the way you relate to your patterns. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin to notice what's happening in real time. You see when hesitation appears, when doubt starts influencing your decisions, when you're about to choose what's familiar instead of what's effective. And in that moment, you have a choice, not to act perfectly, but to act consciously. That's where the shift begins, because your frequency is not fixed. It's shaped by repetition. The more you operate in a certain way, the more natural that way becomes. So when you start making slightly different decisions, even small ones, you begin to expand what feels normal. You increase your tolerance for growth, for responsibility, for financial variation. And over time, your internal range adjusts. What once felt uncomfortable starts to feel manageable. What once felt risky starts to feel reasonable. And eventually, what once felt out of reach becomes part of your baseline. That's what people are trying to describe when they talk about raising your frequency. Not a sudden transformation, but a gradual shift in what you can hold without resistance. And once that shift happens, your actions become more aligned. You stop fighting yourself, you stop creating unnecessary friction, and money stops feeling like something you have to chase and starts feeling like something you can actually sustain. That's the part no one really explains. It's not just about getting more. It's about becoming someone who can operate at that level consistently, because without that, any gain will feel temporary. But with it, progress becomes stable, and stability is what allows wealth to build. If this perspective changed the way you think about money, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because in the next videos, we're going to break this down even further in practical terms, so you can start identifying these patterns in your own life and understand how to shift them step by step. And if you want to explore this concept more deeply right now, there's a resource linked in the description and in the first pinned comment. It connects directly to what we talked about today and shows how these internal patterns shape your financial reality over time in a much more structured way. Take a look when you're ready, and I'll see you in the next video.